Hey gang, Ruin here. Welcome on back to the Cade and another episode of Suckerpunch Sunday, where we do a deep dive into a classic fighting or fighting platform-based game from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. And for this week, we're going to dive back into the time capsule to go to 1993. And we're going to play a game, and I have to give credit where credit is due here, that I didn't even realize was a game that we could try were it not for the fine folks over at What Culture Gaming. Because they did a top 10 list a couple of weeks ago, and I'll put a link in the comments below in the show notes, of the top 10 games that you cannot play anymore. And we did one example last week with Beautiful Joe for the PS2. Well, now we're going to try Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which is a game that was only released in the arcade by Capcom in 1993, like I said, and it was released on their CPS1 arcade cabinet. Now, I have to admit that this is a game that back in the day, I don't even remember seeing those cabinets in my local nickel or quarter arcade outlets, either in the Northwest where I lived at the time or back in the Northeast. So it wasn't an easy game to come by, but it is a game that I wanted to take a dive into because I wanted to see what the fuss was about. So what we're going to do over the course of the next half an hour or so is we're going to see how far we can get in this game. Now, like most fighting games of the time, it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and it was based off of a independent comic book series from the 1980s into the 1990s called Xenozoic Tales, Xenozoic Tales, that was published through Kitchen Sink Press and created by a guy named Mark Schultz, who's gone on to work with various other titles in the comics medium. After Kitchen Sink went out of business in the 90s, Xenozoic Tales was picked up by Dark Horse Comics and reprinted. So if you're a comics fan and you've never been able to read it, but you were always kind of curious about independent comics, might be one you want to check out. And it was retitled Cadillacs and Dinosaurs as a way to kind of pitch it to new audiences who didn't quite get the idea that Xenozoic Tales was a kind of an interesting take on Jurassic Park. When it was released in Japan, it was called Cadillacs Kyoryu Shinseki, which is basically roughly translated Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. And the cool thing about this game is you can play it up to 3 players at once. So we're going to jump in, and I can pick from any of 4 characters. We have Jack, we have Hannah, we have Mustafa, and we have Mess. I'm just going to start with Jack. And each one of them has different benefits. So Jack is a balanced character, Hannah is a skill-based character, Mustafa is speed, and Mess is power. Now, how this game works is pretty simple. You have your base attack button, which will take care of all of your attacks, and then you have a jump button. You don't have a whole lot of other stuff to work with, being a 1990s game. But like most things, you can pick up different gear along the way. So in this case, I have a bundle of dynamite that I can opt to throw. And it just blew up right there, and then it's just going to town. And now we have 2 minutes with a shotgun, which I'm going to take full advantage of. Or there's a pistol here. And when they run out of ammunition, then you just pick them up and throw at them and basically pistol whip them. Now, one thing I already like about this game, and I discovered this in my trial run, is that the controls are not super complicated, and I love the color variation, and I love the depth of field that you get with like the difference between the background and what you see in the foreground. Now, they call it Cadillacs and Dinosaurs because obviously we are in a post-apocalyptic world set in the 26th century. where humanity has obviously fallen into some form of ruin, and all that is left are people like this guy, Vice-T, who has wrangled up various dinosaurs and sauropods of various types for their own ulterior motives. And Jack and his crew are navigating their way through this post-apocalyptic world on various adventures. Now, this game actually, while it didn't prove to be hugely popular, it never translated into an actual console. The franchise was popular enough that it somehow spawned in the mid-1990s a short-lived cartoon series called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs that ran on CBS for one season and all of 13 episodes. I suspect if you could find that online in some way, shape, or form, that might be a fairly rare thing to grab. Oof, as I get torched. Now, also being a 1993 game, you can see the influence that Street Fighter II absolutely had in this game. Both in terms of the color, the moveset, the actions of the characters in various stages of combat. So we get through the first level, and each character does have two special moves. One that depletes a character's health upon contact with an enemy, and then when two or more players together can trigger a team attack. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do that in this version of it because I'm playing on my own. The butcher is hunting in the northern woods. Don't mess with him. That guy's really nuts. And there's, of course, the titular Cadillac. Alright, so if you press both the attack and the jump button at the same time, that's what generates the special attack. We get an Uzi. Oop, as I get gored by a Triceratops. That was not what I wanted. Now, I suspect this dinosaur is going to wake up here in a minute. Yep. Alright, now let's see what we can do getting through the swamp. Grab the grenade, blow that guy up. Trudging along through the water. Now we're back on dry land. Stab that guy. Knock that guy down. Now, one thing I'm noticing right away is that it is not... Unlike most side-scrolling beat-em-up games, the chances of you getting overrun aren't that high. I mean, obviously I'm taking damage, but... that could have gone a lot worse. Quite a lot of dead bodies here, so now we're going to go down this way. Gotta get the chewing gum. Grab the pistol. This must be the butcher, as he is mincing up a stegosaurus. Oh, we can get one of his cleavers. Ah, but he keeps butt slamming us. As we get pistol whipped or shotgun whipped by that guy. Well, not quite, it hasn't. Ooh, we get a bazooka. Well, we lost the bazooka. And no sooner do we grab that sword than he slams us and puts us back down. That's really annoying. So now we're getting to a bit tankier stuff in this game. Alright, see if we can hack these guys down a little bit more. Ow! Dude skewered me. You only get 2 lives in this game, though, which is also pretty annoying. So let's swap over. We'll take Hannah this time. And sure enough, we go and grab the sword, and we lose it. There we go, we put him down. Alright, that took a little bit longer than I wanted, but still, we got through the mission. What a limp. So the 4 characters that we have Mechanic and Shaman Jack Tenrick. We have this adventurous lady named Professor Hannah Dundee. We have Engineer Mustafa Cairo, and then we have Mess Obradovich. Now this game, when it came out in 1993, the reviews were actually pretty positive. All Game gave it a 3 out of 5. But Computer Video Games Magazine gave it 89 out of 100%. And now we get to drive the car. Bring him down. No, we can't. Ow! Alright, Hog. Where were you with your grenade dropping? And we blow him up with the shotgun. So we got through that level pretty quickly. So in Japan, in June 1993, Game Machine magazine listed Cadillacs and Dinosaurs as one of the most popular arcade games for the summer. And Replay reported Cadillacs and Dinosaurs to be the 9th most popular arcade game of the year. Now, there's endless speculation as to why it is that this game was never ported onto an actual official arcade system. And again, the only reason why I'm able to play it is because I have the Win K-Wax emulator, which allows me to play CPS 1 and 2 series games. So in the garage, get some pizza and some gold. And I think we just got, yep, we got a extra life, which I'm fine with. Yeah, we just blow ourselves up with a grenade. Ooh. We got knocked down, and now it's getting a bit chaotic around here. I love how we get the automatic throw if we get within range. Because he's got that sidekick that's akin to Chun-Li. Bye-bye. And now we got a 2x4, so we can definitely start swinging the lumber. She gave him, pardon my French here, but there's no other way to describe it. She gave him an absolute bitch slap. And like all good side-scrolling beat-em-up games, you have to have at least one knife. Oof. They all converged on her. Give me the chewing gum. And the Uzi. And now we got a long rifle as well. Now I can pull out the rifle. And I can start just beating guys over the head with it. Sometimes it's what a rifle is best for. What are you doing in my garage? Alright, this guy slings around a boomerang. With a name like Slice, I'm not surprised. Alright, let's see who we can... Let's try Mustafa this time. Ooh, this guy slings a whole lot of boomerangs around now. go. Ooh, but we got hit in the back with the boomerang again. We're getting stunned. Not dead yet. Oh, now we are. Alright, we're at 20 minutes. Let's see if we can get through this level really fast. Slice is almost gone. And we get the whirling dervish spin kick, and that puts him down once and for all.
Cool.
So we're through the garage. Well, does Mustafa have something has happened to him? Let's go. Village of Flame. Alright, having the torches so we can ignite the dinosaurs, that's not bad. Ooh, but having something coming down at us, that's not good with a pterodactyl. Oh, he pissed off that Allosaur. And Mustafa goes down again. Alright, we got away from the T-Rex. I'm not entirely sure if that's a T-Rex or an Allosaurus. An Allosaurus is a smaller version of a T-Rex for those who may not be in the know about such things. But having grown up being a massive dinosaur aficionado in my much younger days, oh, we have something that looks akin to a Blanca over here. Ow! Oh, we've been put down again. Alright, let's go with Mess this time. See what he's about. Now I'm starting to see the limitations of the mechanics a little bit in that the hitboxes are pretty small. Ooh, we blew him to shribbins. We get lobster, we get bowl of ramen. Get a 2x4. Now we got a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. so we're in the village. Can't go this way. I'm definitely getting a bit of Streets of Rage and Final Fight vibe out of this game. Just in the kinetic nature of it. I think Streets of Rage more than Final Fight. Only because in Streets of Rage you had to do a bit of those kind of 2.5D transitions from one part of a level to another. And I would also put the music for this game on par with Streets of Rage, which I freely understand is a tall bar to get over. Ow. Alright, Morgan, you swine. Ow. Jailbreaker! Oh, you got me in one bullet. Alright, let's just get through this level really quick. We'll bring back Jack. And that's the facts, Jack! Now I'm really gonna get bent out of shape. Ow! He turns into a bonehead. I don't remember the proper name for that type of dinosaur, but I remember they were colloquially known when I was a kid as boneheads. Because they were the sort of creature that did exactly what he's been doing to me, in that he will come right at you and headbutt you because his skull is reinforced. Alright, Morg. Alright, we'll stick with Jack. Extra life, which we're going to need. And we put more down. But we're at 30 minutes thereabouts anyway, so now that we're through this level, we might as well call it good here. And that, everybody, is Cadillacs and Dinosaurs from 1993. For the Capcom CPS1 system that you can play on an emulator, while What Culture Gaming was right in that it's a game that's never been officially ported over to a proper system. I'm playing it on the WinKWAX emulator, WinKAWAKS, which is a free emulator, and it's what I use to play all my Neo-Geo games, as well as CPS1 and CPS2 games. So, if it's a title that you're wanting to try out, and while I won't dive into that quite yet, let's get to our first question. Is it a good game? for being a 32-year-old side-scrolling 90s beat-em-up game? Yeah, it actually is. Again, the mechanics are not super hard. You have your basic attack and you have a jump. And if you hit both buttons at the same time, that gives you a super attack. Now, the one thing about the super attack is that it will deplete your life the more you use it. So you have to be sparing in your application of it. But graphically, I think it's really, really good for the era. You can see the Capcom still coming out of everything they had done in building Street Fighter II into the dominant fighting game that defined the genre, full stop. They were still riding a wave that gave them the ability to incorporate stuff like this, which again is based on a fairly underground, independent comic book from the mid-1980s into the 1990s. Doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it wasn't a Marvel title, wasn't a DC title, wasn't a Dark Horse title until much later on, after its original publisher, Kitchen Sink Press, collapsed. But for being kind of a slightly esoteric niche concept with Xenozoic Tales, that Capcom had the presence of mind to go, hey, we can turn this into something. And then, like I said, it became a bit of a franchise unto itself. In the 90s, there was a 13-episode, one-season cartoon that ran on major network television at the time on Saturday mornings. In fact, it was one of the last Saturday morning cartoons that was ever created in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Is it a game they could make today? Sure. The only issue, like a lot of these titles that were never originally ported on to a proper console, would be more in regards to who controls the IP, how much would licensing cost, and my suspicion is it would be prohibitive to the point where it would not be practical. Which is why, for all the years, there have been numerous Capcom greatest hits releases over the years, and you can look them up. There's quite a few of them. This game was not included in that. That, if anything, is most likely down to the IP itself, which is why, for games like this, and Aliens and Predator, which we highlighted a couple of episodes back, it's just really hard to get games like this updated for modern consoles, even if the demand is there. And that's not necessarily Capcom's fault. That's just the thing you're dealing with when it comes to licensed intellectual property. It's not so much a thing of, hey, people might want to play this game again. Capcom can slap it on a disc or include it in a compilation title and put it out there. They got to pay the right people for the rights. They've got to handle all the legality of it. And that's not something that Capcom or any other company that handles this sort of stuff in trying to update classic arcade games or even older console games, it's not something they can readily do. That being said, is this a game I would play again? Yeah. Because it is so simple. I would love to be able to find out if it's a game that, even playing it this way on a PC through an emulator, if I could set it up that I could play it as a multiplayer, and if you're using USB controllers, there shouldn't be a reason why not. I should just be able to plug a second controller into my USB hub, and me and my sister, or whomever, we should be able to play this to our heart's content, and that might make the game even more fun. Whether or not that's an option on the simulator, I genuinely don't know. So don't quote me on that, but it certainly can't hurt its chances of being a game that I would include when I have company over. So, like I said, if you played this game in the arcade, I'd love to hear from you about it. Because it wasn't a cabinet that I saw in the 35, 40 years I've been visiting arcades around the country. I genuinely cannot recall a single time where I saw a Cadillacs and Dinosaurs cabinet there. They clearly existed because Capcom developed the game and put them out there. But your guess is as good as mine to where they ended up. If they ended up in the States, did they end up overseas? They were really popular in Japan during the early to mid-90s, so who knows? But again, that is Suckerpunch Sunday for this week. Hope you've been enjoying the content on the channel. As always, you know how to show it. Be sure to tune in for our wrap-up of Super Robot Wars Alpha Guide that will be coming out the early part of this week. I know I said it was going to be coming out at the end of last week. We did get all the episodes recorded. We ran into a major snafu where my game file got somehow corrupted to the point where it would not load the final mission. So what I had to do was I had to go online to get a save file that will unlock the final mission and play it. Will it be in the full logistics of the story that we've gotten to this point? Is it the end that we should have had? No. But it is the true end of the game. And the file I got to use from, we're going to be able to have quite a lot of fun with it. So it's got some extra special things that I'm not going to give up right now. But I would invite you to tune in as we can hopefully finally put that one to bed starting the early part of this week. One programming note, we will not have Sports Saturday and Suckerpunch Sunday next week, only because I have to go out of town. It's a last-minute thing. I got to go to Las Vegas for a weekend. It is for my day job, so I'm not going there for recreational purposes, but it was something that got sprung on me last week. I had to do last-minute booking and flights and all that stuff, and it's going to happen next weekend. So I simply just won't have the time with the rest of my schedule to accommodate recording other stuff. So it'll be a weekend off, but normal service will be resumed once I get back from there. Be sure to follow us on social media through Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Ronan Search for Kate help spread the word about us as we continue to build this channel and make it bigger and better. My name is Ronan. It's been great to spend this Suckerpunch Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming, and we'll talk to you tomorrow as we hopefully finally put Super Robot Wars Alpha Guide into bed. Talk to you then. Bye.